Hello everyone, it's Jackie and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be making another Game of Thrones Season 8 theory video. Today I will be doing another theory video that centers on Arya and Gendry. The last video I did about them and Melisandre actually ended up being fairly popular, so thank you guys so much for that. My video today is actually going to focus on whether or not Arya and Gendry may end up together in the final season of Game of Thrones. I sort of touched on this topic in my Season 8 Death Predictions video when I was talking about how I think Arya's story might possibly end. So some of this may sound a little familiar, but I definitely wanted to expand on this idea and theorize about the different ways that Arya and Gendry's stories could possibly end. Because like I said before, Arya is a character where there are several different paths that I could feasibly see her character go down, and multiple endings for her that would satisfy me as a viewer, so I'm not super wedded to this idea. No pun intended. I'm not super wedded to this idea of her and Gendry ending up together. I would be fine if they didn't, but I would also be happy if they did. What I'm really trying to say is, I'm not super confident this is how Arya's story is going to end, but I do think it's a possibility, and it's just something I wanted to discuss. I'm not saying this is 100% what's going to happen. It's just something that I think could be supported with evidence from the show, and I could see it happening, but I could also see it not happening. It's just one possibility. Like I said when I was talking about Arya before, a lot of people think that Arya will never marry anyone because of that conversation that she had with Ned back in Season 1. In case you don't remember this conversation that I'm referring to, here's a clip.
Can I be Lord of the Holdfast?
You will marry a High Lord and rule this castle. And your sons shall be knights and princes and lords.
No. That's not me.
Let me just explain to you guys the way that I interpreted this scene, and I'll keep it brief because I know I mentioned this before. I don't think Arya meant I'll never marry anyone. I think she just objects to the sexist notion of marriage that's presented here. Arya doesn't want everything she has just to be solely due to the person she's married to. She doesn't want to marry some man who's going to expect her to just be wife and mother, to wear dresses, to work on needlepoint, to never do anything for herself. She wants to be more than that, so I don't think it's so much so that she never wants to have a husband or she never wants to love anyone. I think it's more so she doesn't want to be seen as just that. I think if Arya found someone who respected her and who didn't want to change her, she would possibly marry him. I actually think it's entirely possible that Arya may someday decide that she wants to have a family of her own, because we've seen how important her family is to her. She's killed people because of how they've wronged her family. Family is so important to her as a character, and I think after everything she's been through, maybe someday she'll decide that she really does want to have children that she can love and protect. I mean, the fates of the Starks are very closely connected to their direwolves, and everyone seems to think that Arya is going to be wild forever because of what happened to Nymeria, but Nymeria also has a pack. And Arya may someday decide that she wants a wolf pack of her own. A lot of people seem to misunderstand Arya's character and view her as simply a ruthless serial killer, but I think she's so much more than that. Everyone who ended up on Arya's list ended up there because they had wronged Arya's family or someone who Arya loves. Arya kills for justice, not for her own sense of enjoyment. We've seen that Arya doesn't kill innocent people or harm them, so I think that once her list is completed, once all the people who have wronged House Stark are gone, she's going to have to find some other meaning in her life, and I don't think it's implausible for her to want to have a more calm life after all the trauma and turmoil she's been through. Maybe this next stage in Arya's life will include a marriage, maybe it won't, but I definitely think it's a possibility that she may want to move on with her life, settle down, and find a family again after everything that's happened to her over the course of the series. Now, if Arya is going to marry anyone, I think it probably would be Gendry. I don't think Arya would ever marry some lord because she said that's what she didn't want. If Arya marries anyone, it'll be someone who she loves, who respects her, and who she respects. And I think Gendry could possibly be that person. I definitely think 100% that Arya and Gendry do love each other in some way, shape, or form. You could interpret this love as romantic love. You could interpret it as the love between friends. You could argue that Gendry is sort of like a makeshift brother to Arya. But no matter how you look at it, I think it is undeniable that they care for each other. Arya added Melisandre, Beric, and Thoros to her list for what they did to Gendry. She wants to kill them because of what they did to him. She told him that she could be his family. I think there's definitely love and affection between them. It just depends on how you interpret that love. Now, I don't mean that I think Arya and Gendry were romantically interested in each other when they were with the Brotherhood. Gendry is older in the show than he is in the books because a lot of the characters were aged up to be older teenagers, so I don't think they were viewing each other in that light due to their age difference, but I do think they loved each other as friends then, and when they meet again in Season 8, they could possibly feel those feelings of friendship love start to transform into romantic love now that Arya is older and a woman, basically. She is considered an adult in Westerosi society, so a romance between them now would not be inappropriate. Also, George R.R. Martin originally intended for Jon and Arya to fall in love, so I don't think Gendry and Arya's age difference should count out a romance between them. I'm very glad that George did not go through with this Jon and Arya romance because I love the sibling relationship they have, and a romance between them would just ruin it for me, so thank you, George, for not doing that. But this also goes back to people who say they can't imagine Arya ever falling in love. Well, George originally intended for her to, so maybe she still might find love, just with a different person. Now, another thing that has to be discussed when talking about a potential Arya-Gendry marriage is Gendry's legitimization. I think this is something that is definitely going to happen in Season 8. Jon and Gendry have already been shown to have a good friendship going. They're the bromance I never knew I needed until it happened, to be honest. I do think Daenerys will be skeptical of Gendry at first, considering Robert killed Daenerys' brother Rhaegar and overthrew the Targaryen dynasty, but I think eventually Daenerys will see that Gendry is trustworthy and loyal. Like I said in my last Arya and Gendry video, I think that Gendry will be forging weapons for Jon and Daenerys to help them defeat the Night King, and if you want to hear more about that, you can watch my last Arya and Gendry video, which is linked in the description. By legitimizing Gendry, they could be rewarding him for all the help that he provided in the Great War. Gendry is the last Baratheon, at least in the TV show canon, and Jon and Daenerys may need him if they want to retake Westeros. Now, I know that the Stormlanders are very stubborn people, and I don't imagine they would submit to Targaryen rule easily, but they might if they have a Baratheon who can vouch for Jon and Daenerys and say that they will make a good king and queen. There is also additional support to this from the book series. In the upcoming book, The Winds of Winter, in the previews that have been released, it's established that Aegon, or the pretender claiming to be Aegon, as in Rhaegar's son and Jon's half-brother, has taken Storm's End. Now, if Jon and Daenerys want to retake Storm's End from Aegon, they may need a Baratheon, i.e. Gendry, to help them get it back. Based on what I know about the Stormlands, I think it might be a good fit for Arya, to be honest. I think if Arya was Lady of Storm's End, the Stormlanders would really like her a lot and really respect her fierceness and her fighting prowess. I think she would be a very much beloved lady in the Stormlands. I also want to mention that the founder of House Baratheon was a Targaryen bastard. It would just be a great history repeating itself moment if House Baratheon was re-established by another bastard, and we know that George loves moments like that. Now, if Gendry becomes Lord of Storm's End, he's going to need a wife, and he's going to need to surround himself with people who know about politics and ruling, considering Gendry was not raised to lead. And I know some people think that Sansa could potentially fill the role as Gendry's wife, but I don't think so. Not only because they don't have the history that Arya and Gendry have, but also it's just not a smart political move. Sansa is the Lady of Winterfell, so it wouldn't make any sense for her to marry the Lord of Storm's End, because if she married him, she would have to go to Storm's End. One of them would have to give up their castles in order to marry each other, and that just doesn't make sense. I think it is entirely possible that Sansa will decide she never wants to marry again after what she went through in her first 2 marriages, especially her marriage to Ramsay. She's been through a lot, and I think she may just decide that she's done with it, that she doesn't want to go through that again. If she were to marry anyone, I think she would marry someone from the North. I also think it would be kind of ironic if Sansa, who always dreamed of having a handsome knight and getting married and having children, and Arya, who never wanted that, if they ended up with Arya being married and Sansa not, and both of them happy that way. I think something like that would show that life doesn't always work out like we initially planned it. Circumstances change and our desires change with them, and sometimes what you end up really needing is something you never saw coming. So, I think that if Gendry does have to choose a highborn wife, Arya would be his wife of choice. I think it's a smarter political move than him marrying Sansa, and I think potentially the two of them could make each other happy again after all of their losses. However, I don't think we will actually see a wedding between Arya and Gendry on screen. I think their future will be more so implied than actually shown. I think it's almost 100% certain that Jon and Daenerys will marry next season, and I don't think the writers would show more than one wedding, considering they have a limited number of episodes. I think with Arya and Gendry, we might see a kiss or some sort of declaration of love. I would love it if it was on the battlefield. That is my ideal scenario. The only way I could possibly see a wedding between them happening on screen would be if there's a flash forward at the end of the series finale. But I don't think a wedding between them will take place in the present. I will say, though, that if there is going to be some kind of marriage proposal, I would love to see Arya be the one who asks Gendry to marry her, just because that is such an Arya thing to do, I think. I mean, tackling gender roles and getting her man at the same time. So guys, please like this video if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments how you think Arya's story will end, or how you would ideally want it to end. Also, if you have any ideas of theories about Game of Thrones that you would like me to make, please let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more Game of Thrones theories. Until next time, bye! Thanks for watching!